hours from the checkered flag in the 2019 Rolex
Okay, we're
24
live.
at Daytona.
Alright, we're live.
Cal, take us inside this world.
We're live.
Well, it's very tricky. The visibility isn't great. The main thing
5
is
hours
the grip on the
left.
racetrack.
I'm
Tires aren't
still.
hot. That makes a big difference, particularly in the wet lease. So once you start to lose that tire a little bit, but there's two edges to that sword. If you're underneath and you're not generating the tire temperature, that can be problematic. Once you get the confidence in the car, then you start to get the grip back underneath.
Okay, are these people
going
going
to
to start or what?
Who said we've had it tougher than the drivers, by the way, overnight. Some very, very hardy fans as we get ready to go back to green after more than an hour and a half under red flag conditions here at Daytona. Set to go with Fernando Alonso at the head of the field as he continues his storied and amazing motor racing career. Look at the rooster.
Oh yeah, finally green go.
For Team Penske, follow Alonso through the triangle for the first time at speed.
See, Dane Cameron doesn't want to be part of that draft and that spray. He wants to be able to have the best visibility he can find heading down into turn one. But look at the amount of water that's being driven off those Michelin wet tires.
JDC Miller DPI, the yellow one, taking a nice wide line.
See Cameron there, really twitchy through turn two. They'll be playing with that traction control.
You oversee a lot of wide and alternative height. This is the Paul Miller Lamborghini on the fat Porsche.
Oh, there's a crash already.
Contact with the wall or another car.
Zach Rubishon behind the wheel.
Oh, there's a crash. Come on.
Lamborghini is out as well.
There's a crash.
Behind the wheel.
Massive contact on that rear right.
Oh.
This is the Heavy Motors Lamborghini.
I don't driving on red.
Portion for sure right here. Just the visibility, Lee, is so difficult.
I am going to go on red.
Winner from last year, the Paul Miller Racing number 48.
Oh, they're not.
Running in the top 10 class, Hardwick behind the wheel. As Ryan's trying to get that Lamborghini.
Oh, you're caution, not red.
And we're on the yellow again, understandably.
If we get a fatter hump or spin, I'm not sure if he is involved in the same incident. Don't see any damage right now to the Lamborghini for the 48 squad. Least experienced driver in that field.
What car is that?
So right at the start, lead.
12th caution. 12th. Obviously, whether the huge impact there. Only 4 yellows last year. What a drastically different race within a 12-month period.
Take a look here.
Oh, wow, that was a big
really
hit.
Slowed and just with the visibility, nowhere to go for the number 9 machine. Just rips out the right rear suspension of the Lamborghini that he hit.
Kind of trying to look at this. Look at the visibility on board the Corvette.
I didn't know come out yet.
The 3 of Antonio Garcia. Did he get away with it? He certainly did.
Well, that's experience and a little bit of luck at the same time.
Meanwhile, Ryan Hardwick was pirouetting down on the apron coming through the tri-oval. Kind of backtracking here a little bit. If the fat Porsche, the 9 car with the kind of plaid livery, if the wheel had come up first, he slowed, and then the Lambo got into the back. Anyway, there's a big cleanup about to happen on the front stretch through the tri-oval here at Daytona International Speedway.
Okay, so there's going to be a red flag for this?
You can see how tricky the conditions were demonstrated by the second place runner, Dane Cameron, when he was coming out of turn 1, got on the path through turn 2, completely sideways there.
He's on board the WeatherTech Ferrari.
The 9 came in with a fierce rate of speed there.
So it's the other way around. Yeah. It was the reverse of what we were
How
talking
did that
about.
happen? How in the world is he red? How did they start his engine?
So the stranded Heavy Motors Lamborghini Taylor Proto behind the wheel. He slowed significantly, and the 9 fat Porsche just came flying in with Zach Robichon, the Canadian racer.
No changes in the top 4 in the DPI class lead, but in GT Le Mans, Joey Hand did get up to second, started the restart in 3rd, so he's made a little bit of a move.
Okay.
These drivers know
Okay,
Take massive risk. Go for it a little bit and suddenly get that track position. Who knows what's going to happen there? There you see the car. Been through the walls a little bit. On Friday in final practice when Sebastian Bourdais had a little off in the car to be repaired and a little bit of a question mark to the setup on that car starting. They tuned on it a little bit, got it into its sweet spot. You see some damage to the right rear corner. Then Seb went off, head on into a barrier game when the rain was at its worst. But that team has so much experience, and I think they believe they didn't have the pace that they had last year here, where they dominated this race. But just through strategy, smart calls, keen driving, they could still maybe get the victory.
If you've been with us since 2 p.m. Eastern yesterday afternoon, you know that we're rotating through our squad here in Daytona regularly as we welcome now back on the air Marty Snyder. Hi, Marty. Hopefully you got a few hours of shut-eye and ready to go for a very interesting ending chapter to this event.
I did indeed. Hope you guys got some shut-eye as well, ready for the finish of this 2019 Rolex 24 at Daytona. Listening to Joey Hand on the radio, he wanted to relay to him, so the water is obviously everywhere on the racetrack. He said there's just nowhere for it to go. And he said also because of that most recent accident, someone's laid oil down all the way around the entire racetrack.
Down the track.
So thing IMSA is going to have to deal with under this rainy conditions right now, and caution as well here at Daytona with 5.5 hours to go.
I was chatting with Mike O'Gara from the Ford Chip Ganassi team yesterday prior to the start of the race. And I said, okay, we all know the rain's coming. So back in the Daytona prototype era, before DPI, I said, you guys were legendary at what you used to do at your home base in Indianapolis in the wet weather, driving around the parking lot, working out how to prevent fogging up on the windshield and in these terrible conditions. I said, now we're talking about a totally different car now. How are you guys? What kind of shape are you in? He said, well, I'll be interested to see how severe the weather is. He said, because say, for instance, if you compare us to a Porsche 911 RSR, that's a unibody chassis. He said, that comes out of the factory to a point, right? We're more of a handmade carbon fiber, you know, it may not seal as well as a Porsche 911 RSR. I don't know. We're going to have to see how we do. It's not like they never race rain in this, but when it's as severe as what it is now, that's kind of the things that get revealed in extreme conditions.
Seems to be pretty good right there. This is Joey Hand view. We're on board with him. The key is the fogging up of the inside of the windshield. That's really the wiper on the outside doesn't help that, obviously. And there's different types of blowers and heated front windshields now that the teams operate with. Fernando's car looked very comfortable in the conditions. He wasn't twitching around like the Acuras were right behind him.
Well, our Kelly Stavis lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. We might have to tell her what this is. This is rain, Kelly.
Listen, when we get rain in Las Vegas, I promise you it pours down. Even heavier than it is right now. And it seems like the rain has picked up. You were just talking about the conditions there for Fernando Alonso, who's in the best position because he doesn't have all the spray from the other cars. And yet still, when this caution just came out, he came over the radio to tell his team essentially, I don't know why they put us back out here. The conditions are worse than they were when they finally red flagged this thing. Wayne Taylor's been kind of shaking his head here in his pit box. He can't understand the reasoning behind it all. And look, we know Fernando Alonso was wicked fast when they were racing in the wet conditions. And again, he has the best vantage point at the front of this field. And he's saying, I don't know what we're doing out here. It's worse than it was before, Dave.
Good morning, Kelly. And by the way, in North Carolina, we get hurricanes, so this is very familiar to what we see. Downpours like this, but this little pop-up shower has been a warning sign to all the teams, including Alex Zanardi behind the wheel of the BMW Team RLL M8. They told him before green, he said, have your wits about you. There's going to be some crazy driving. And then after it went yellow, he radioed back in and said, it's absolutely insane. I don't think we'll be going back to green anytime soon, but reimagine if you can. Alex doing this good driving with that handbrake to the right and shifting and throttle on the wheel. All this for this two-time IndyCar champion without the use of his legs, which were severed 18 years ago. And he's now doing this in this downpour, at least under caution now, but he went back to green. What a task for this champion.
Lee, when we spoke to Alex at the Raw a few weeks ago at the big test here at Daytona, he explained the problem for him is when he gets really sideways and crossed up on that steering wheel, he's taking his hand off the gas pedal at the same time. And the dynamic of a car, that throws all the way forward, so it kind of pins the nose. gets grip to the front end of the car and loosens up the rear. So if he's suddenly snapping around trying to catch this car, it is very, very difficult with those hand controls.
You won't find a better storyteller than Alex Zanardi as well, with his infectious personality and passion. I'm just thinking about when he goes back home to Europe, he's got an even bigger story to tell after this one. With all of his friends. His best friend is here, by the way, Max Pappas.
Hi, Ashley.
Succeed at this event.
PH.
And what a story Alex Zanardi has to tell now as the cleanup continues after that tri-oval crash. This was it. I would have to say a lucky escape for a couple of drivers here. Oof.
This race is done.
Fulfill. Realize. Love. Your life. Be extraordinary. Turn off the highway and soar. Spread your wings.
Okay, drink more in the chat. I'm a new subscriber. Good.
And turbo.
Good. Let me see. Oh, yes, we want this. We're going to have the sub back. I'm going to try and sub back. Oh, I don't want to sub back. Where is that channel? Oh, it was me back. It was me back. Don't laugh. It was me back. I'm going to try something else.
What do you think?
Oh, wait, I can't. Tell you what.
In the last hour, the U.S. federal judge sentencing Cohen to 3 years in prison.
This is Wednesday Night Hockey. To many, he's the best player on the best team in the league. But whenever the Folks play against this guy, success is never guaranteed. Wednesday Night Hockey on NBCSN.
Ring in the new year by upgrading to Spectrum
I also
TV
subscribe
Silver.
to everyone
And
is doing
instantly
right.
watch the best shows and movies on some of the best networks. Game on! Like HBO and Showtime.
Well, tough for the morning.
Along with over
Wait, Grounded
75
Productions
HD
13
channels. Do you know about me?
was in here.
Start your new year out right by going to channel 2495 and upgrading to Spectrum TV Silver
Wow,
today.
this is cool.
Tonight, to be in the Hill Zone, you have to meet Pitch Perfect with special guest Jaime Camille and Chrissy Fit.
Okay, I want to subscribe to you.
2001 vocal hardcore. Charm.
Alright.
All new tonight at 9 on the CW23.
Okay.
How would you like to be 18-year-old Colton Herta in your very first
I
Rolex
saw-
24 at Daytona with the famed Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan BMW team in these conditions and your windshield wiper doesn't work? Oh boy, these are the kind of conditions and situations that make the stories of this event what it is. As the cleanup continues on the tri-oval, we welcome you back to our live coverage, and one of our new NBC colleagues is out on track. There he is, AJ Allmendinger in the Meyer Shank 86 Acura NSX behind the safety car, the pace car, the Audi pace car. Cal, you're going to want to try and talk to AJ here on the radio if you can.
AJ, it's Calvin. What are the conditions like, mate?
Hi, good, Calvin. I mean, I know we're trying to put on a good show and do all that for everybody watching at home. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm about crashing. Basically coasting around the racetrack fifth gear. I mean, I about crashed right there, honestly.
14 minutes.
Trying to hurt somebody.
Left in this file. Still file.
So the water on the track, the biggest issue, the visibility, or both?
Visibility isn't good. Like, we went green there, and I just basically tried to pick a lane and hope nobody was going to be there. But the water on the racetrack, I mean, the cars are hydroplaning at 20 miles per hour. Like, this is insanity that we're doing this right now.
Okay, mate, hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there and stand by, stay tuned, all of the above. This is the view that AJ had at the most recent restart. Check it out.
You're just driving blind. It's blind faith at this point. As we saw in the middle of the GTD pack, suddenly someone turns it sideways and you just plow into them. When you're leading this race, you can see the anxiety on Wayne Taylor's face, and you can hear the anxiety in AJ's voice when he's talking to us. It's not a good place to be.
So, great to get the insight from AJ. By the way, he leads at the moment, the GTD class.
What a record. Every time he has competed at the 24-hour race, he has led. Not just his car, he has led.
In what this is 13, the Rolex 24. We're aboard the Konica Minolta Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac, and Kelly has more. Kel?
In fact, I have the top of the food chain here, Steve Carlisle, the president of Cadillac, and you know, not the best conditions right now, but I got to imagine seeing a two-time world champion in Fernando Alonso driving a Cadillac, leading overall here at the Rolex 24 has got to be pretty special.
It is. It's very exciting. He did an awesome job this morning. I think he moved us from third to first in about the first 35 minutes he was out there, so that's awesome. Yeah.
You guys have really stepped up the program, too. You've got, 6 full-time entries for the season. Why is this so important to the brand?
Well, I think it's great for the brand because engaging the customer base, and it's an exciting opportunity from a technology point of view to see what we can do on the track, including in difficult conditions like this. So it's all good.
And what's it like getting the feedback from some of these drivers who have raced Formula One, not exclusive just to Fernando, by the way, that come back and rave about these prototypes?
Yeah, well, we have 5 drivers with Formula One experience, so it's just terrific. And that's it tells us that we're really onto something from in the fact that we got 2 new teams and 3 new cars this year on a demand basis, based on experience that we've had in prior years. So that's really cool.
All right, well, we all hope we get to see those Cadillacs back out there racing, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, but the rain continues, Dave.
And I'm standing by the fuel rig, Bill's fuel rig in the 29-month class by land Audi. And I'm going to go out here for just a minute and just show you pit lane. Really soupy right now, not impossible, but a lot of rain down here. And then I'm going to duck back into the fuel rig because Daniel Morad, driver, one of the drivers on the 29 car, is standing by. And my electronics need to stay dry, too. So that's why we're ducking back under here. But I want you to retell a story I heard early this morning, you sharing it to us, how you used to be not a fan of the rain, but then you became a fan of the rain. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, it came, when I was 11 years old. There's no other way to put it. I got destroyed in a race in the wet in shifter karts, and still finished on the podium, but nearly got lapped by one of my good friends, Robert Wickens. And I never wanted to feel that. And that feeling again of being like just so helpless. So I went back the next day to the track, same conditions. It was freezing, like it was almost in Fahrenheit to Canadian. It was 2 degrees Celsius, right. 35.
That's cold.
Yeah, it was cold. My fingers were freezing. I drove for 8 hours and then finally figured it out. And now I actually love the rain. I think it's an advantage because a lot of people dislike it. These conditions are a bit tricky, when the visibility is bad, you just saw a really bad accident, and I really hope all the guys involved in that were okay. But, we're here to go racing. We don't want to finish second. We want first. The great Ricky Bobby says, if you ain't first, you're last.
If you were to make a driver change here and head out in these conditions, Daniel, what would be on your mind? What would be your approach?
I think first and foremost, there's a lot of time left in the race, and just to make sure you're careful in the first laps. The Michelin tires are, they're working very
5
well in
hours.
weather conditions.
Oh yeah, it is 5 hours.
The last time I did this, Rolex 24, we drove for 18 hours in the wet, and I drove most of those hours. So I'm familiar with the wet weather, and it turned out to be a pretty good day. 24 hours for us. We won the race on that day in the wet. It was pivotal in our victory. So I hope today that plays a big part in the result, whatever that may be, in a few hours from now.
All right, Dries Ventura is behind the wheel. Daniel stands by, and Marty, I'm going to stay under the tent by Bill's fuel rig.
Good idea, Dave. I'm standing under the Team Penske tent, and these cautions and red flag can really play havoc with your driver rotation as well. Ricky Taylor got in the sim car at 4:50 a.m. We went caution at 6:05 a.m. and haven't gone back green except for that little stint just a moment ago since then. and they've been
If
wanting
they
to get
cancel
Elio
this
Castroneves
race.
in the car since about 6:30 a.m. They didn't want to give up the track position. Then the red flag came, and you have to put the same driver in who was in under caution after the red flag. So Ricky Taylor had to get back in the car, and now they've called for a short caution, which would mean they can't change drivers once again. So Elio Castroneves sitting at the ready, and again, they've been trying Lee to get him in the car since 6:30 a.m. What time is it right now? It's like 9:30 and almost, isn't it?
9:30 coming up, East Coast time.
IMSA has made an adjustment to the minimum drive times because of the red flag, Lee. So the base time for the P2 and GTD cars has gone down from 3 hours and 30 minutes to 3:15. For the minimum drive time for the Pro-Am drivers has gone down from 4:45 to 4:25. For the prototype and GT Le Mans down from 2 hours to 1:50. So that's been factored in. There was also a rule where you can't run more than 4 hours out of 6, but with that red flag, that's gone away for this hour at the moment. So Ricky Taylor being logged into that car under red, that has now gone away. So not a concern.
Oh, right.
there
There's a red flag?
Can tell you on the front stretch through the tri-oval, the Ebby Motors Lamborghini Huracan has been recovered from the AMR safety team, and the flatbeds, etc. The FAF Porsche that came flying in from behind and collided with that Lamborghini is still on the in the tri-oval. So that being recovered as the cleanup continues, the caution continues, the rain continues here in Daytona for the Rolex 24.
How are they starting for the previous year? Not notified private start goals.
Engineered to perform. Designed to protect. Ready for any challenge. Nothing beats WeatherTech. You can turn left. You can turn right. Or if you're behind the wheel of the all-new BMW X5, you can decide not to turn at all. Unless you absolutely have to. The all-new BMW X5. The confidence doesn't take detours. Test drive the all-new 2019 BMW X5 today.
At Outback, your steak and lobster wish is our command. Steak and lobster is back by popular demand, starting at only $15.99. Hurry into Outback. Steak and lobster is only here for a limited time.
Heartburn and gas? Fight both fast. Comes Chewy Bites with gas relief. All-in-one relief of heartburn and gas. Comes Chewy Bites with gas relief.
Hey there, in the good mood. Hey.
The unmistakable Cadillac XT4. Once again, driving is joyful. Starting under $36,000.
As someone who witnessed protection, I can't tell you everything about myself. But believe me, I'm not your average consumer. That's why I switched to Liberty Mutual. They customize my car insurance so I only pay for what I need. And as a man, or a woman, with very specific needs that I can't tell you about.
Mr. Landry?
Hi, Mr. Landry.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Next Sunday, hockey's biggest stars line up as Patrice Bergeron and the Boston Bruins take on Alex Ovechkin, the Washington Capitals. NHL Star Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. That's on NBC, presented by AT&T. I think every discipline of motorsport would argue their fans are the toughest, the most diehard, the hardiest. But no question about the fans in endurance sports car racing, because the conditions, not everyone is as fortunate to be in a lovely big RV. There are many, many tents here and campers, and it's been tough. How about for the spotters as well? Above where we are here, at least a floor or so above where we are here, Carl.
Yeah, it's tough because when you're in the thick of the race, the adrenaline is flowing, it keeps you engaged. But suddenly you think about how tired you are, how cold you are, how miserable you are when the cars aren't running under full green flag.
So we've crossed over the 15-minute mark. You may remember earlier Marty talking about we were under short yellow, short caution conditions. Now we've gone in past that 15-minute mark, so it's now into a regular caution as the fat Porsche has been recovered and pits are open as of now.
Again, strategy-wise, what do you bank on? Are we going to see more green flag running? Do you give up track position? Do you roll the dice, have more fuel on board, so you can then go a little bit further on this next stint, and maybe some of the leaders have to come in and grab fuel?
By the way, I just want to follow up on something in that lovely interview that Dave did with Daniel Morad. He mentioned Robert Wickens.
I saw it.
Good morning, Robert. If you're watching, we know that you're continuing your rehabilitation in Denver, and thanks for putting all of those videos on social media. Your spirit and drive is unbelievable, mate, and thank you for including all of us on the MTT Data IndyCar side of things and just motor racing fans from all over the world. You've got everybody with you, supporting you, and who knows, maybe we might see him as a guest at an IndyCar race this year, which would be fantastic.
Look at this, Alonso ducked in late. So the two Acura team, they're splitting, bringing Dane in and leaving Ricky out. You've got a two-car team, you can do that. Looked like both Acuras were going to come, then the 10-car decided to come as well. Marty?
And the 6 cars coming down pit road. Elio Castroneves waits on the wall. They are going to come next on by, and Elio will get in the car, but I believe the 6 cars in front of Kelly.
That's right. For the 10 there of White Taylor Racing, they had told me there was going to be no driver change, and yet now I see one taking place right here at the Team Penske Acura. That is Simon Pagenaud, the Frenchman, climbing aboard that number 6 machine. Remember, he had some contact with the GT car overnight, which caused damage, but that has since been repaired. And so Fernando Alonso has handed over the driving duties. I didn't get a good look to see if that was Kamui Kobayashi or Jordan Taylor. I saw both looked ready to get on board in this number 10 pit.
And you think having a fast driver change doesn't matter? In that scenario, it did.
Oh, boy.
That was so close. Pagenaud, if he had been a little bit sharper in jumping in that car, they would put a lot of fuel on board. But they released the 10 just in front, so he maintains the track position. Of course, the 7 car stayed out on the racetrack.
Okay, cool.
That was critical.
Cool. The 7 car stayed on the racetrack.
And it was just the wheel spin. He just couldn't get out of the
lead off.
And so Fernando Alonso has handed over the driving duties. I didn't get a good look to see if that was Kamui Kobayashi.
Yeah, that was
the key is just getting overlap. If you've established in that fast lane, the right-hand lane, if you have any overlap, so if your nose is just over the rear taillights of the car on the inside, you get that position when you get to pit out.
And behind the Konica Minolta Cadillac and Acura Penske is the JDC Miller Cadillac. Great job from the team from Minneapolis. Tristan Vautier is now behind the wheel of the 85. The team car, sister car, the 84, has not had as fortunate a run. This is the team that Rubens Barrichello is a part of in this year's Rolex 24. And here they are, looking forward to a good, strong fall season in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship.
Tristan Vautier is one of the fastest drivers in the paddock. He puts it all on the line. He's exciting to watch. Really nice young man. And the trouble start last year, Sebring had a massive crash, totally.
I was done. Come on. There.
But Tristan has found his feet here. He's worked with his team before, had success in the junior single-seater formula.
And he is one of some 21 drivers leaving here tonight to go straight across to the west coast to LA and then straight to Sydney, Australia in preparation for the Bathurst 12-hour where he's driving with Kenny Habul in a Mercedes AMG. So, and you know what, I don't want to say you were one of these guys as well, but you know this too well. When you're a young driver in a single-seater category, you have only eyes for one thing. It's either IndyCar or Formula One. You're climbing that ladder. That's the path you're going down. And it doesn't work out for everybody, right? You made the switch. You're an Indy Lights champion.
Okay.
You ended up making the switch to sports.
Well, I almost took one point.
Sebring as well. And then your career takes you different paths. Tristan's one of those. He was an NTT Data IndyCar driver, but then made the switch to sports cars. And you have longevity. Joey Hand's another example. There's dozens of examples where you do that, where they don't even consider sports cars, and then when they get into sports cars, it's like, my goodness, where was this world? I didn't know anything about it.
I know. You just network over the course of your junior years and find yourself in a place. Wow, I worked with that team manager before, that chief mechanic, that engineer, and suddenly you find your feet and you find a home and you get some consistency. One of the things for a young driver, he wants that continuity with his career in sports car racing. Some of these young guys have found it.
What's your GT team going to work?
Guys rolling the dice a little bit further back in the GT Le Mans pack. This will extend their next fuel window if we do get back to green flag running. Some of the leaders not wanting to give that up, unsure of what we're going to see for the rest of the day.
Starworks Audi, the number 8 in the foreground. Kelly, tell us more about the 912.
Well, you see the 912, they're leaving pit road. They and their sister car both came down pit road, but only the 912 made a driver change. It looks like Earl Bamber is now behind the wheel of that 912 machine, which has made a great recovery after a little bit of damage to their splitter early in this one that caused them to spend extra time on pit road. And they have come back to run second in this race, so a good recovery for the 912. But both these Porsches have just looked remarkably strong throughout the, 19 hours into this one?
I was about to say, hey, get excited. We just crossed under the 5 hours ago mark.
These cars typically, Lee, are really, really good in these conditions with their weight. It's more of a mid-engine car than a rear-engine car like the early ones, but it still puts the weight over the driving wheels and gives the drivers a lot of confidence.
There's extra attention being paid to the front of the 911, the team car as well. So I'm not sure what's going on with the bodywork
Okay,
on
we're
the front
close
of
to
those cars
1
in this
hour.
race, but
Could be taping the grill up, but yeah, the engine's running super cool in these conditions.
wow. Listen to that wheel spin. Really tricky, treacherous conditions here in Daytona.
Stay in the moment, they say, but you're 4 steps ahead. Executing plans you've rehearsed countless times before, and moving on to the next thing. Because if you think you're done, you've only just begun. At Michelin, we never stop thinking about our next move. We're yours.
Whatever party you got going in the back, we got the business up front. Heartburn and gas? Fight both fast. Tums Chewy Bites with gas relief. All-in-one relief of heartburn and gas. Tums Chewy Bites with gas relief.
At Outback, your steak and lobster wish is our command. Steak and lobster is back by popular demand, starting at only $15.99. Hurry into Outback. Steak and lobster is only here for a limited time.
6 p.m. No excuses?
Be fast. Be focused. Go 4 places at once. Be responsible. Be thoughtful. Oh, and be on time.
Not bad.
The all-new GT 4-door coupe from Mercedes-AMG, because life is a race.
Gary, I am proud of you, my man. Making simple, smart cashback choices. With Quicksilver from Capital One, you're earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Like on that new laptop, Quicksilver keeps things simple, Gary. And smart, like you. I like that. I got that pretty smart. Don't let that go to your head, Gary. What's in your wallet?
Standard Hopefully still under caution conditions here at Daytona International Speedway. With under 5 hours to go in the 2019 Rolex 24. What did you make about that Penske split? One coming in, one staying out.
That's, I think initially it looked like the 10 was going to stay out. You saw both of the Team Penske machines down on the 8, and it looked like they were going to make that stop. But Marty, what are you thinking down there was the reason for the call from Tim Cindric?
It was a last-second call for Tim Cindric to keep the 7 car out. Now, remember a couple of things. Ricky Taylor's been in this car. Granted, we've had red flags and cautions since 4:50 a.m. Elio Castroneves has been sitting here in the pit box for over 3 hours waiting to get in that 7 car. So I think a couple things, Calvin. Number one, Tim Cindric realizing, starting to do the math to the back end of the race. If I take Taylor out now, I'm going to put myself in a little bit of a box with Elio Castroneves. So let Taylor run about 40 more minutes. Then I can put Elio in for the end of the race. But also, you mentioned it, the 10 car coming to pit road. That was big. They're thinking we want a Team Penske car to win. So they split the strategy. 6 coming down pit road and the 7 staying out. Better to beat them, right, Calvin, with 2 different strategies. That way you know you've got it covered.
Absolutely. I think that was the call. I mean, even if they got Elio in now, he couldn't take it to the checkered flag because there's 4 hours, 50 minutes to go. He can't run more than 4 out of a 6-hour period in this race, drive time. But I think they were willing to come in, top up with fuel. It looked like Fernando was going to stay on the racetrack. When he jumped in and turned over Jordan Taylor, that's how sharp you have to be. That's how quick you have to be on your feet, though, Lee.
Yeah. Steve, what are your thoughts? So I'm learning about all this drive time requirements. So Calvin is a fan at home, a fan down here in the pit box. I understand you can't drive more than 4 in the last 6, but does all this time under yellow count? Like, how does the clock run? Is it just anytime you're in the car?
Anytime you're on the track, other than on pit lane, your drive time stops when you hit pit in. It continues when you hit pit out. But under red, it did not count, for example, with the car sitting on pit lane. So if we keep running to the checkered flag here, Steve, this drive time will count. So if they put Ellie in right now, he couldn't make it to the checkered flag without jumping out.
So is it safe to say, I mean, I love strategy in the NASCAR side, but those are 4-hour races, and there's 24-hour race. I would think every driver said the last 2 hours matter. So you must want to get your final driver in well before that, right? 2, 2.5, 3 hours, so you know you don't have to make a driver change in those final 2 hours?
Yeah, and get that guy in the rhythm, Steve. As you know, it's what it takes. You want to feel who is the most comfortable in these conditions. Drivers need to be honest right now. If you feel, you know what, I can't win this motor race. Simon Pagenaud, maybe he's the guy. Maybe it's Dane Cameron. Maybe it's Montoya. Maybe it is Elio Castroneves in the 7. Talk to each other. Who's going to take it home? And get that guy in the car with enough time to feel the rhythm of the track, feel the grip level, and be able to go get it.
As we see a driver change right here in the AIM Vassar-Sullivan Lexus. And the other thing I'm noticing, the clock never stops, right? I mean, in 4 hours and 51 minutes, we're going to see a checkered flag, rain, shine, green, or caution.
That is for sure. And there were a lot of other marks in this race with the Michelin Endurance Cup. Those points were awarded at the 6, the 12, the 18, and then the checkered flag. And there's a lot of strategy going on. They believe the teams are going to go back to green before we saw that red flag. Teams are making strategy calls to get fuel on board to be in the lead potentially when they hit that 18 mark and got the bonus points. And that all changed with the weather conditions worsening. So it's all upside down right now in terms of those calls.
Kelly?
Well, Lee, it wouldn't be Daytona if we also didn't talk a little stock car racing here. And it's amazing how many connections I have found to the NASCAR world here in IMSA, and you need look no further than Gary Nelson, team manager here for the Action Express team, these 2 Cadillacs. He was the crew chief, of course, for Bobby Allison. They won the Daytona 500 together here back in 1982. Went on to win a Cup championship together the next year. I went looking for photos, and I just love this old one. I want to get thoughts maybe from our own NASCAR analyst up there on the Peacock pit box, Dale Jr., Steve Letarte. What do you think of this guy?
Yeah, he was around a long time. Won races with Kyle Petty when I was driving the number 42 Pete Anafreeze car, and also became technical director for NASCAR for a while. And I remember hanging out with him when Matt Kenseth won his championship in New York City, going upstairs, and he was always around. Great guy. Real innovative. I like to bend the rules a little bit, maybe break a few. And, he always had great success everywhere he went. Just
knew how to make cars go fast, and it's no surprise that he's still doing that today.
Well, and as technical director, we had a few conversations about
Yeah.
some rules that perhaps I got a little close to the edge on over time, but he was wonderful. You and I were walking through the garage, I think it was on Friday, and that entire Action Express team waved us in, walked us through the car. You actually sat in the 5 prototype. It was interesting, right? I didn't have quite a sense of space, but once you got down in there, what was your take of the cockpit?
I felt like a banana in a banana peel. I mean, there's really no room inside that car. There's no extra room. It's basically, I mean, the whole cockpit's kind of formed around your legs individually, and you're right there around the windscreen and everything. So it's quite claustrophobic. And I had them shut the doors and everything to sort of get a great feel of what that is, what that feels like. And it was just, it was a lot of fun. The cars have changed so much.
Oh, your brain flagging.
Since I've raced them, and
That's pretty interesting. Do you think this is an issue on the Acura, or is this some sort of downforce change in the rain? Well, they wouldn't go this far, right?
They were connecting something to maybe blow through the coolant system. I'm not sure, Steve, at this stage, but a concern.
Well, when we had Keating here from the AM driver on the GT, he mentioned how much they struggled with temperatures in their cars under caution here.
Right.
Do you think that could be something as simple as that, just running under yellow?
Well, it can. We saw one of the Porsches maybe taping up the grill to get to stop air getting to the cooling system, and that obviously changed the aerodynamic downforce a little bit at the same time. But they're taking the opportunity here under caution to try and fix whatever's concern they're seeing on the data, I would assume. Plugging it in right now, trying to get a read through the electronics on what the issue is.
And this new Michelin tire that all of the field is on, it's not new for some, but the whole field, it's been a real conversation about the marbles around the racetrack. And I always wondered from a standpoint as far as cooling goes, will that affect, will that plug up the radiator? Is it something we would see in the later hours of the race?
Yes, for sure. I mean, particularly if it dries out, these wets will get torn to shreds. If we should see a dry racetrack, which is unlikely looking at the radar and the weather forecast. But even so, all of those things are factors, and you have to adjust and make the right calls.
not only is riding around under caution not really ideal for the cars, it's not ideal for the drivers either. I remember 2004, Andy Wallace, we had a long caution in the middle of the night, over 2 hours, behind the pace car. We were the lead car. Andy Wallace got physically ill riding in that car under caution for over 2 hours behind the pace car with a flashing lights.
Let's go, caution.
For those drivers out there just
Let's go. Can we keep this race green? I want to see. I want to see it race. Come on. Keep it green.
As a driver too, I mean, it just throws off the rhythm when you're just standing down
Keep
there
it
at the ready
green.
and you can't get in the car.
Yeah, just anxiety and anticipation continues to build, and you were getting toward the end of this race.
Yeah, caution there, and then
things start to
we'll
really
make the green
matter.
flag already.
I mean, obviously the race is 24 hours long and a lot of things going on, but we're starting to get down to when things really start to matter and the intensity start to ramp up.
I'm taking all my notes. I figured Calvin and Lee are going to have a test for me later about
What is going on with this?
So I'm filling a notepad. It's been an exciting trip down here to the Rolex.
And it's far from over, Stevie. Far from over with 4 3/4 hours remaining here, and this drama for Simon Pagenaud and the Acura Team Penske DI. We'll follow that when we come back.
Oh, when will it start?
A little bit country.
The all-new Chevy Silverado. It's a little bit country, and it's a little bit rock and roll.
Here's a commercial.
Play She's a Rainbow.
The 2019 Acura RDX with ELS Studio 3D sound. It's everything we ever imagined and then some. The new home of Supercross. It's NBC Sports. Don't miss a second of the heart-pounding action with every race from every stadium. Supercross is on NBC Sports.
We were definitely searching for something special, and we weren't going to stop until we found it.
We talked to our friends and we did some research, and that's how we found Amica Car Insurance.
When you have Amica, you don't just feel like you have a policy, you have an ally.
Have you found Amica Auto Insurance yet? This is a great day to get a quote. We tailor the coverage to you, so you get the protection you really need. Give us a call right now or get a quote online. You'll know right away you found something special. Welcome to Amica. This is helpfulness insured.
When I say drivers who switched from Geico to Esurance saved an average of $412, you probably won't believe me. You can believe this. Real Esurance employee Nancy Abraham. Look her up online. Esurance. It's surprisingly painless.
With Zillow, you can tour homes anytime, anywhere. See the house before you see the house. And Zillow sends alerts right to your phone. That's the sweet sound of a new rental.
For me, the Rolex 24 is the crown jewel of endurance racing because we've got so many different drivers coming from all over the planet. We've got IndyCar drivers here, we've got NASCAR drivers here, we've got Formula One drivers here.
You look at Fernando Alonso, you look at Alex Zanardi, who are all here racing against them this year in the Rolex 24, and I think that is enough said in terms of what this race means.
It really shows that Daytona is being put on the map as one of the races that are on the to-do list, that are on the bucket list, that people have to do.
The Daytona 24, it's actually a very long night race. You know, it just seems to take forever until the sun comes back up in the morning.
24-hour races, you know, they have some kind of different appeal. So many things going on in 24-hour time that, you know, you have your lows, you have your highs.
So the track conditions do change a lot. You get dew on the track at night, and especially early in the morning. Sometimes it feels like you're in the wet.
Rolex gets behind this race and gives you an amazing prize for winning. You win this one.
Celebrate it for the rest of your life.
Just hearing from Alexander Rossi there, who became Team Penske's 100th driver when the green flag dropped yesterday. His car, the 7 car, Ricky Taylor is in the lead. Meanwhile, the team car has been taken back behind the wall, back towards the garage area. Tell us more, Kel.
Yeah, and what a devastating turn of events here for this number 6 Team Penske Acura that had been running second. The team saw an issue on the telemetry first.
Where is this?
Said anything over the radio, and all he could get out of the team was that it had something to do with oil or oil pressure. That after working on it for a while on pit road, they have obviously decided they could not get to the root of that issue or fix it on pit road. So you see it there, Marty being pushed back towards the garage.
And Kelly, for their teammate Ricky Taylor in the lead now in the 7 car. Tim Cindric came on the radio just a moment ago and said you have to keep the RPMs above 3,500. We don't know what happened to the 6 car, but if you go below 3,500, that could have been one of the things that happened to the 6 car. So obviously Ricky Taylor needing to do some maintenance here. 4 hours, 41 minutes left, but hoping the problem that happened to the 6 doesn't happen to the 7.
This is part of the tapestry of endurance sports car racing and the Rolex 24. Just these variables that get thrown, these kind of mystical hiccups with the cars that you think you've done everything. Hey, we're talking about Team Penske here.
Right. And we think about, you know, teams being prepared for a 24-hour race, having an engine that can build that far. They'll do 30-hour dyno runs. They'll do 30-hour race simulation at the racetrack. And typically that's done wide open. Can the last car and the power last for 24 hours wide open, full power? But the other thing is the fact is that conditions like this, you're worried about the engine being too hot. In these conditions, is the engine too cool? You think about the fact we just came off a red flag. And certainly these are a lot of factors that have to be determined, whether that is the cause and the root of these problems. Certainly Tim Cindric is alluding to his driver right now. Make sure you don't let that engine run too low on the RPM range.
Marty, tell us more about the 7.
Hey, Lee Waddell Jr. say a moment ago, riding around under caution, one of his co-drivers got sick inside the car. Ricky Taylor said, I think I'm going to throw up, honestly. And they said, well, open the window, do something to help yourself out. And he said, I can't open the window. So what they're going to do, if he needs to come down pit road and he's truly getting sick behind the wheel, riding around under caution, Elio Castroneves has now jumped down off of the pit box. He's ready to get in the car. They said, if you need to come in, Elio can get in, but if you can stay out, let's stay out. Dave?
For now, Marco Seifried behind the wheel of the 540 Porsche for Black Swan Racing. Their driver board reads like a catacomb of drivers throughout the night. But the main thing is, late in the day, Dirk Berger will be jumping behind the wheel to finish the race. I want to start, though, with your evening, because early this morning, you were the driver who was behind the wheel on slicks when it began to rain. What was that like?
Well, it was no surprise. That's a good thing because, everybody was talking about the rain and it comes, and then my team informed me that I have to watch out for rain, and it started slowly. So for the driver, there was a possibility to adapt to the conditions. So in that concern, it was good, but at a certain point, it was just miserable, and you were sliding around and sometimes close to go off track. So very difficult conditions. And then especially in the night with rain, with the spray coming out from the cars right in front of you, was quite tough.
Of course, we're talking about the GT Daytona category, and the GTD's 11 cars currently still on the lead lap. How competitive is your class?
Yeah, it's very competitive. There's a lot of manufacturers that develop new cars for this year. You can see also with the new Michelin tire, really the performance of the cars stepped up. In the rain, we are sometimes even a bit quicker than the GT Le Mans cars. So the cars are quick. The field is close together, and there's now very good drivers that will be finishing the race. So this will be a big battle, and I hope that the rain stops at a certain point so we can go back to racing again and not drive behind the safety car.
You'd rather have dry conditions than wet for the finish?
It doesn't matter, but for sure I want that we race and that we don't circle around behind the safety car. But our Porsche is good in the rain. We saw that when we drove in the night on rain tires. That's when we came back in the lead lap and when we moved towards the front. So I think rain is not bad thing for us.
Very good. And you guys know, for Black Swan Racing, this is the right guy to have to finish off the day.
A huge operation that Tim Pappas has put together for this 540 team. Tim's another one, and Black Swan Racing is another one that's heading to the Bathurst 12-hour next weekend. They've got race shops here in Daytona Beach. They've got one in New Hampshire and one in California for all of the racing that they're doing, not only here in North America, but around the world, to strategically position those cars ready for the various competitions that they're doing. And Dirk Werner is a two-time Rolex Grand Am GT champion. He knows how to get to the front.
The unmistakable Cadillac XT4. Once again, driving is joyful. Starting under $36,000.
This watch has seen moments that last a second and moments that last forever. It's seen the road's most daring champions, man and machine pushed to the edge, and performances that redefine precision. Yet it's not until we look back that we understand that at those very moments we were standing on the edge of motorsport history. It doesn't just tell time, it tells history.
WeatherTech is known for providing the ultimate protection for your vehicle with laser-measured floor liners and cargo trunk liner, along with seat protectors and seat back protectors. And now the WeatherTech Cup Foam with removable cups fits virtually any size cup holder and adjusts to fit virtually any size phone. Even allows easy access while charging. Whatever you drive, whatever phone you have, Cup Foam is the perfect fit. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com.
Here's a question. Was it necessary to create a luxury car more teched out than Silicon Valley? With a cockpit fit for a spaceship? Hang on. Radar that senses things the human eye can't. Busted. And or the ability to make 1,000 decisions before you even make one. Was all this really necessary? What do you think?
This is a united sports car series in every way, shape or form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the track. Extraordinary stuff. It looks like a demonstration drive. Some of the best racing in the world. Fast, furious, exciting. These are golden days indeed for IMSA and for endurance racing in North America.
There's still.
We've been talking a lot about the Acura Team Penske DPIs, either the 6 or the 7. The 6 still in the garage area, and the team frantically working on it for the 7 that was in the lead of this race, albeit under caution for such a long time. Team Penske President Tim Cindric on the radio said to Ricky Taylor, come on in. Come on in. Feeling ill. We're going to do a drive and change. We'll put Elio Castroneves in the car. You get out. And that's what happened just a few moments ago. So the dancing man is in. The 3-time Indy 500 champion climbs aboard the 7. And Marty was there, witnessing the whole thing. Ricky getting out, and hopefully he's feeling better, Marty.
Yeah, Ricky actually did not want to get out. He said, I do not want to give up this track position. Let me stay in. Tim Cindric overruled him, said, listen, you need to come in. Let's put Elio in the car again. He's been waiting so long. Ricky came to the back of the pit box, sat down for a little while, got some water, and then they took him in a golf cart. And we'll see if they're going to take him to the Infield Care Center or probably just catch his breath a little bit. But, Junior, you mentioned that your co-driver, leading at the time, following the pace car for a long period of time, got sick as well. So why is it that under caution, these guys can do 200 miles an hour, but under caution, it makes them sick to be in the car?
I think it's the pace car lights. There's so many, the pace car lights on the back of that pace car are extremely bright. And under these muggy conditions, even at night, they're just emphasized quite a bit. And just having that lead, it seems to be always happening to the lead car that's right behind the pace car, and having that in your face, you can't escape it. You can't go away from it. I used to lobby NASCAR to minimize the lights at night on the pace car for the lead driver because it was so disturbing and it would really make you ill. And riding around at a pace like this in that muggy old humid race car, just a bad combination. And so hopefully Ricky feels better. Andy had to wait. He would not get back in the car for several hours. Me and Tony Stewart had to double our stints before Andy felt well enough to get back in. So Andy was out there for around 2 hours behind the pace car for that period of time to make him so ill. And Ricky wasn't out there that long, so hopefully he doesn't feel too bad. And obviously this late in the race, he doesn't have to worry about finishing and get back in the car, finishing the race. So. Hey, Dale, you know the other day we were chatting about that year 2004 when you and Andy Wallace and Tony got within 17 minutes of victory, and we were both saying we've never seen disappointment on our friend Max Crawford's face, who was running the car for you, running the team for you. You know, in this IMSA 50th anniversary year, we're talking a lot about history, and Max Crawford and his entire family, who now run the Ligier operation out of Denver, North Carolina. Max is here. I don't know if you got a chance to catch up with him or not, but there's certainly a key figure in the history of sports car racing in this country. Yeah, I've been around motorsports, and I've been through some really low lows and some really high highs. I don't think I've ever witnessed disappointment throughout that entire team that I saw that day. I had no idea really what those people had put into that race to get to that moment. I didn't understand the 24 hours of Daytona and what it meant to these people.
Can that car get off the track before we get a green flag this race?
Disappointment like that since. It was just an incredible experience, and to watch it doesn't really bother me until I see the tapes and the videos and stuff, and inadvertently we got to show it. But such a heartbreaking moment, but to come so close, man, I'd love to have that on my resume.
Oh, you can see disappointment again like that if you play golf with Calvin Fish. Calvin throws some good tantrums.
Hey, Steve, we speculated about the 6 car and the simulations that the engine manufacturers go through. Did you do similar stuff with the Cup engines?
We did, Calvin. You know, it started.
And those cars get off the track for green flag is race, and then let's see and then the 4GT can get up to first.
Or even restricted engines here at Daytona. What we learned, though, Calvin, is after we started simulating 500 green flag laps, we thought we had everything figured out. And you mentioned we would start to hurt engines under yellow on the banking, staying that sustained, actually slow speed on the banking could starve them for oil. So our simulations quickly changed and involved pit stops. They involved yellows, even red flags. And you and I were having a conversation. Rick, you have to wonder with that Acura. You know, they ran so successfully for so long, but then sat under the red, went back for a very quick stint under green at high RPM. And then we heard the communication reported by Marty that they wanted a higher RPM. Almost makes me think maybe it's some sort of oiling or a supply issue within the engine. Yeah, there's a responsibility for the drivers in these cars under this type of pace to keep the RPMs up and keep the oil pressure up, especially in the banking, because you can't start that side of the motor as the oil's trying to get, you know, the oil's trying to go to the left side of the motor. But we got a report from the Acura garage. Let's go there now.
And, Junior, I think Steve's ready to crew chief one of these 24-hour races because he has it right. It's an oil pump issue on the number 6 car, so that's why they told the 7 team to keep the RPMs up in the car. A lot of guys here working on it. I did check in with Jonathan Dugan, the head engineer on the 6 car, and he said they are not done for the day. Kyle Moyer, who leads the IndyCar charge for Team Penske, is here as well working on the car. They're trying to diagnose it, trying to fix it, not calling it a day, but it is an oil pump issue on the 6 car.
So I'm not going to claim I know the architecture of this Acura specifically, but most oil pumps are designed to be very efficient with liquid. But anytime you get any sort of aeration, any sort of pocket of air within that system, that destroys any hydraulic system. I'm sure perhaps that, maybe, we don't know if the oil pump was the cause or maybe the result of another issue. The simple fact, though, is it's a required part. It is the heart of the engine system. The joke was always you can't let the smoke out, and when you have an oil or electrical issue, it's not good. So it's unfortunate, but you have to wonder. Castroneves sitting there in third. We saw with the Mazdas, 10 minutes apart. Both Mazdas had issues. Well, hopefully the 7 won't have the same issue.
Pretty wild, though, both of these Acuras. One possibly a driver sick, the other car sick, under caution in an endurance event. Lee?
Just the way it goes, isn't it? Just the way it goes after these 2 cars had looked just so rock solid the whole race long. And here we are with less than 4.5 hours to run.
You can turn left. You can turn right. Or if you're behind the wheel of the all-new BMW X5, you can decide not to turn at all. Unless you absolutely have to. The all-new BMW X5. Confidence doesn't take detours. Test drive the all-new 2019 BMW X5 today.
At Outback, your steak and lobster wish is our command. Steak and lobster is back by popular demand, starting at only $15.99. Hurry into Outback. Steak and lobster is only here for a limited time.
With Zillow, you can draw your own search. It's easy, and yeah, it's kind of fun too. Zillow also notifies you when there's a new listing. Let us do the searching for you.
This is Wednesday Night Hockey, where NHL superstars come to play. To many, he's the best player on the best team in the league. Put your eye on him. But whenever the Bulls play against this guy, success is never guaranteed. Wednesday Night Hockey, Lightning Penguins, 8 p.m. on NBCSN.
Every day, more and more business owners are choosing Spectrum Business, America's fastest growing internet, voice, and TV company, because they know it's the best. Like Ted. He needs fast internet for his cafe and his customers. With Spectrum Business's fiber-rich network, internet starts at just $44.99 a month for 100 megabits per second. Call 855-731-5041. The Millers make a lot of calls. They're saving money with Spectrum Business Voice. Unlimited calling is just $29.99 a month. And Elaine wants services she can count on for her new shop without a contract. With unsurpassed reliability, Spectrum Business is the right choice. So join all the others who are choosing Spectrum Business. Get internet speed starting at 100 megabits per second for just $44.99 a month. With advanced voice, just $29.99 a month. No added taxes, hidden fees, or contracts. Call today and save. Call 855-731-5041.
Quick reminder about Ken Roxon, Eli Tomac, and all of the stars of the Monster Energy Supercross. They head to the historic Oakland Coliseum. Who will be the Beast by the Bay? That's today, 3 Eastern on NBCSN, right here when we are done. As we welcome you back to Daytona International Speedway. And we're going to take you inside a variety of the cars. This is our man, AJ Armendinger, who leads the GT Daytona class. Cal spoke with him a little while ago. Things seem a little calmer now, still under caution, so conditions the same. We're just going to bounce around to various onboards. Have a listen.
No, they're in 12. No, mine is 12, so I'm in 13. No problem.
Interesting to look at the various expressions and of the drivers. Some certainly well more alert than others. It's on board the 911 Porsche of Fred McAwicky. What are you hearing on the 911, Kelly?
Well, yeah, we have more of these onboards, and kudos to our team for finding this, because I heard the 911 team checking in with Mecco, and they said, hey, you still with us? You all right in there? And he said, yeah, why? They said, well, we've been watching your eyes. They're kind of looking sort of funny. He said, no, I'm just a bit bored in here. They've obviously been running these caution laps for quite some while now, so not the most exciting moments on the racetrack for the time being, but Mecco assuring the team he's still well and alert. He's just going about his business right here. And earlier I was talking about all the stock car connections, and what I found so fascinating is a number of these Porsche factory drivers from both the 911 team and the 912 team are huge NASCAR fans. His teammate, Mecco's teammate, Nick Tandy from Great Britain, among them. He's done a little bit of stock car racing himself back in the UK in little third mile and quarter mile tracks, and what he described to me as kind of like a little mini Cooper. And when we asked him if he had a favorite driver, he very bashfully said, yes, it's Dale Jr. And so I had the great pleasure of introducing the two a couple of days ago. Nick Tandy blushed right up. I was a little bit shy at first, but then Junior, it looked like you guys had a great conversation about stock car racing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My wife Amy asked me if I was making any friends over here, and I told her about that experience, talking to Nick. And if I told him, I said, man, we got to exchange contacts if I ever get over to England and visit. You have to show me around. But man, is he impressive. He is so fast behind the wheel of that Porsche, and great conversation learning about how he came up driving ovals, driving those little four-cylinder Mini Coopers or whatever engine he had in that thing. I imagine it's a four-cylinder, but in the stock cars like they have in New Zealand, they have those over there as well. So
Had to go over there and check that out. It sounds like a lot of fun. Hey guys, I'm glad you're sitting down so you don't fall over when I tell you this. Calvin and I had lunch the other day here at the track with Kamui Kobayashi. I said to him, hey, just the natural progression. I'm not saying your sports car days are over, but maybe in addition to, does the NCT IndyCar series interest you at all? And he said, well, it does interest me, but I don't think I'll ever drive in it. You know what I'd really like to drive in? I said, what? He said, NASCAR.
Well, I'm sitting next to a team owner. You never know how these conversations. I got a couple of races. There you go.
4:20 to go on the clock. What an interesting and intriguing day, period of time. This has been almost 20 hours into this race, and the conditions have changed just so aggressively. This doesn't come as a surprise, by the way. We knew that bad weather was on the way. Maybe not quite this severe.
Yeah, I mean, early indications were maybe the last 2 or 3 hours of the race were going to be wet, and then it moved up a lot earlier, but not the intensity. I don't think we thought we were going to see this much water on the racetrack.
By the way, as you go down the list of people out there on the timing screen, there's young American driver Aaron Telitz in the number 12 Lexus RCF F4, AIM Sullivan Racing. Super young guy. Here he is. He is one of the 4 drivers in this car. It's the only all-American lineup in the car. Guess what? He had never driven a sports car, period, until the Raw before the 24 3 weeks ago. How would you like to be out there in these conditions? I know it's under caution, but he was out there before as well under green conditions. So this is a huge moment in this young man's career. Well done, well handled, and well done to AIM Sullivan for still being out there with both of their cars on debut. Really solid team effort. All efforts are being made to make this track more raceable, that's for sure.
This watch has seen moments that last a second and moments that last forever. It's seen the road's most daring champions, man and machine pushed to the edge, and performances that redefine precision. Yet it's not until we look back that we understand that at those very moments we were standing on the edge of motorsport history. It doesn't just tell time, it tells history. To introduce myself, I'm a man of wealth and taste. Pleased to meet you. Opie is my name.
I'm a little bit country.
I'm a little bit rock and roll.
I'm a little bit of Memphis and Nashville.
With a little bit of Motown in my soul. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Right now, I love it so.
There's a little bit of country. A little bit of rock and roll.
The all-new Chevy Silverado. It's a little bit country, and it's a little bit rock and roll.
Stay in the moment, they say, but you're 4 steps ahead. Executing plans you've rehearsed countless times before, and moving on to the next thing. Because if you think you're done, you've only just begun. At Michelin, we never stop thinking about our next move. Or yours.
Here's a question. Was it necessary to create a luxury car more teched out than Silicon Valley? With a cockpit fit for a spaceship. Hang on. Radar that senses things the human eye can't. Busted. And the ability to make 1,000 decisions before you even make one. Was all this really necessary? What do you think?
We welcome you back to Daytona, and we welcome you inside the BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan BMW M8, and you are looking at the incredible Alex Zanardi. run out of adjectives when you talk about this guy because he is truly remarkable. From his career in Formula One and then to IndyCar to be a two-time IndyCar champion, back to Formula One. Second go around wasn't so successful, came back to IndyCar in this tragic accident at the Euro Speedway Lausitzring in Germany in 2001, shortly after, just days after 9/11. His life since then is nothing short of fascinating. And this man who lives by the word curious and curiosity and turn your obstacles and your hurdles into opportunities, you cannot help but to be inspired by this man in any shape or form. He is incredible. He's amazing. And I had a chance to sit down with him a couple of weeks ago here in Daytona at the Roar.
Where's the people on the street?
You have said in the past that you would never have wished for what happened to you in 2001. But in retrospect, it may be the greatest thing that has ever happened to you.
I'm an optimistic guy. It's difficult for me to think disaster. You know, I always tend to believe things will be all right. If I could go back in time, for sure, I would be very curious about what my life would be today. Good legs. But I don't think I would take the train because I was able to turn what happened into probably the best opportunity of my life.
Alessandro Zanardi was third at the turn, the Italian eventually going on to take gold.
6 Paralympic medals, 4 of them gold.
Had somebody forecasted that to me a few years before, I would have asked him what I would sniff, what I would smoke. I'm a race car driver. What do I have to do with the Olympics? But sometimes you actually surprise yourself in doing things that you never imagined.
This isn't your first 24-hour race with BMW Spa in Belgium several years ago. What did you take from that event that you will use here in Daytona?
Of course, at the time I had my prosthetic legs on. Actually, that was one of the biggest problems. My foot is like this, but my foot cannot turn because it's leaning up against a flat surface. For me to push the brake pedal with my prosthetic leg granted me more freedom to move my hands over the wheel, but I was not capable with the same kind of quantity of driving as my teammates. It was difficult. I had to rest. We decided that I had to step into the car with no legs, basically not stepping, getting in somehow.
People are very inquisitive for you in this race and your BMW teammates. Talk us through you getting in and you getting out.
It really looks like a dance. It's quite artistical. We got driver changed it down to a 14-2, so I am very, very satisfied.
Doing an endurance race with hand controls only. You've described yourself as Jimi Hendrix, playing with both hands. True? You're that busy?
I'm not that talented, but to work independently with his fingers over different chords or buttons. This is the throttle. Yeah. This is the shifting mechanism. And then I have a lever. While I'm braking, I can downshift. Every day I have to adapt. It's my life. Every time I come up to different step or different obstacle, I have to figure a way to go around that problem.
How you doing? Going good? Yeah, you?
Come stai? Molto bene. Ciao. How's it going? You good?
See you on the track, eh?
Yeah. I'm very lucky because although I'm 52, I still feel engaged in the best part of my life. So I just hope that I get everything right and possibly go home Sunday night with a big smile in our face. It is with a rolex around our wrist. It's even better.
I just look my phone.
What an amazing man. Just so much charisma. And when you add to that the story, Lee, it's just a remarkable to just sit there and listen. Just so engaging, just so positive about everything that he does. It's really inspirational.
Look, I can't believe that we're sitting here watching him do this. I was there in Germany at Lausitzring. I called that race with Ben Edwards, British Formula One commentator, and Ben and I left the track like everybody else, not knowing if Alex was alive. And it was incredible. The following year, I had moved to the US to call IndyCar, and you were there. We were all in Toronto, and they'd asked Alex once he'd got used to his prosthetics to come and to be back at an IndyCar race for the first time and wave the green flag. And it was very late on Saturday after qualifying was well and done. And I was in the booth just doing some extra bits of homework. I looked out the window and I saw Alex come out of the garages and over to the pit stand. And he wanted to make sure that he showed just how strong he was and confident he was. He wanted to practice getting up the flag stand because he didn't want to look foolish or incapable on race day. This speaks to the character he is. Calvin, he pulled himself up that vertical flag stand with his arms alone. And he got up there because he said, I just wanted to see what it was like before I did it so I could wave with confidence. And then I wanted to make sure I could get back down as well. I mean, just everything this guy does is first class and incredible, and he never ceases to amaze us.
It was amazing. He went back to Lausis and he run IndyCar again with controls, and I was there and Jimmy Bass was watching him. It was just so emotional just to see him back there at the same track and doing laps.
Can we share a funny story with you about Alex? This just reflects the amazing spirit in this guy and the character of this guy. After I had finished doing that interview here a couple of weeks ago, Calvin was with me and he was telling us it's all about perspective, how you view life and whether you want to...
Are they going to start this race or what?
He was at a function once
where
there was a woman complaining to him about a skin graft she had on the end of her index finger. And in the summertime when she got a suntan, the skin graft was very white and it was so inconvenient she had to hide it behind her back. She didn't want to be embarrassed. And he said, I didn't have the heart to say, lady, look down. I don't have any legs. Get your life in perspective. And he was laughing about it. And he's just, there has not been a driver in this paddock, and I'm not being disrespectful, I'm being truthful. Not even Fernando Alonso, not any of the IndyCar stars. There is nobody that has been surrounded by more fans than this man at the Raw and this weekend for photos, for autographs. And you know what? Alex stops for everybody. He is a man of the people. He is incredible.
He is so special, and there is so much love for him. Even if you're not close to him, you just admire him so much and what he's done.
He told us a story about racing IndyCar at, I want to say it was Mid-Ohio. It was either Mid-Ohio or Road America back in the day. And he said he had one of his friends from Italy with him. And after they had dinner, they went for a drive around the track on a golf cart. And they came across a group of campers partying, having a few beers. And they had a big sign up and it said, "We hate Zanardi." And he said, come on, let's go in there and let's see what they're like. And he went in there and he said it took them a while for them to work out who he was. And he shared a beer with them. And the next day he came back and on the parade lap driving around past them for the first time in the race, because he did that and had a laugh with them, he said they crossed out the "we hate" and they've written "we love Zanardi." And that's Alex. That's Alex to a T.
How cool is it that response was because it was Bobby Rahals, as we see pit lane now open for prototypes to take an opportunity to pit. That was Bobby Rahals' home track at Mid-Ohio, and he had made that pass on Brian Herder. And now today he's driving for Bobby Rahal here. Back at Daytona.
How the world turns as Jordan Taylor brings the Konica Minolta Cadillac to pit lane. Kelly Stavist is standing by.
And this is Jordan Taylor behind the wheel of that Wayne Taylor racing machine, I would anticipate. And it looks like it will, in fact, be just a VP fuel stop here for the 10, taking advantage of the pits being open here for the prototypes.
Okay.
Such a nervous time for the strategists at the game because of the unknown. They don't know what's going to happen. It's not like, yes, we're going to go back to green flag racing at X amount of time. They don't know on the field.
Who's Jordan Taylor? He Taylor's brother?
Back time this race. At this stage, when you get to about 4 hours to go, you're back timing the event in terms of how many stints, the minimum drive time with the drivers may be a factor as well. But this is all just, it changes. I mean, you've just got to adjust on the fly. And it makes it tough for the officials too, Lee. They don't want to determine the winner based on who's got fuel in the tank either.
You'll remember not long ago, the 7 Team Penske Acura was a storyline and still continues to be, but Elio Castro-Neves is behind the wheel. He took over from Jordan Taylor, who wasn't feeling well under caution, and he was in the car for a long time. So Jordan since stepped from the 7, handed over to Elio. And as a result of that stop from the 10, they cycle through. Marty has more on this car. Tell us, mate.
Well, Alexander Rossi getting ready for the 7 team right now. But I've caught up with a man who leads things for Acura, the Vice President General Manager of the Acura brand, John Ikeda. And I tell you what, I've learned today, John, there may be no better form of learning what happens on the street or what can help on the street than this endurance racing.
Yes, endurance racing is so challenging, if you will. The rain, the weather, everything is just
I like insurance
it's trying to
racing.
control chaos here. But we're a challenger brand at Acura, so we love IMSA and what endurance racing brings to the table, and we're really proud to be a part of that.
How about the Meyer Shank team? And AJ, by the way, in the lead. The ladies doing very well. Simona Di Silvestro in fourth right now. How about the job they've done?
Oh, fantastic. Meyer Racing. What can we say about the NSX GT3 Evo coming right out of the box? We're leading right now. We're really excited about that. But the ladies in fifth place in the lead lap, they're bringing all that talent to good use.
I was at a coffee shop. I saw about 10 NSXs out in front. They're all parked. They were so proud. That is a really proud brand, isn't it?
Yes, our NSX followers are huge. Acura followers are huge. We got a crowd here. It's all full of people. Our dealer body, everybody back in Torrance. We're really proud of the brand, and we're really happy to showcase that here at the race today. Yeah.
I tell you what, Diff, John, very happy with our man AJ, who we ride on, leading right now.
Yes, Meyer Shank Racing, AJ Armendinger. The 86 Acura NSX up front with just over 4 hours to go. There is AJ. What a super effort from him, and Townsend Bell doing both the broadcast side of things and the driving side of things in these challenging conditions.
Looks a little calmer than when we spoke to him. That was immediately after the restart and the subsequent caution. He was just very frustrated and animated about the amount of water on the racetrack, the lack of visibility, and how tough it was for the drivers.
Oh, wait a minute. Green side of this race or what?
On the radar,
Don't do like
maybe
this.
lightning up, not lightning.
Is this a
lightning
green
up.
flag
Just
or
a
what?
quick break and chatted to one of the officials, and they believe there may be a little bit of a window here within the next 30 minutes or so. That's what they're waiting on next to make the next call.
The 912 has gone around.
That puts it in perspective. And
Yes.
a ball winner like Earl Bamber is one of the best in the wet, one of the best cars in the wet.
Oh, he can't get
Flips
going.
it around. I wonder, Lee, thinking back to that carnage that we saw on the restart, if one of those drivers, look at that, just the banking, just twisting the car the wrong way. Got watch that front splitter if he was down there. If someone couldn't see and duck down on the apron and can unsettle the car.
That's what he was trying to do, to achieve a quick spin. It was just so difficult with the gradient. Here's what happened to Earl Bamber. Kelly, you got more on this?
Well, Lee, it's interesting because the pit crew for the 912 Porsche GT has been on the wall, and I had heard him discussing a pit stop for that vehicle, even talking about how many seconds of fuel they were going to need to put on board for the 912. So I couldn't see the front of that if he was trying to duck down here to pit road. And then you saw once he got it, the Porsche turned around. They ultimately told him just to stay out. But I suspect we could still see him come to pit road. The crew's still waiting here. It looks like they're still ready to top it off with some BP fuel.
She looks mad. Based on the anger that he's delivering to that throttle pedal right now. Maybe it's a late.
When will this race restart? When does restart? Wait, did it start?
Maybe that's what it was. He was there, kind of half committed, and then decided to come back out, and then
Okay,
aquaplaned on it,
it's
turned
not
around.
even, I see no overtake.
We'll continue to follow that for you as we broach the 4-hour to go mark. There's Alexander Rossi gearing up for his next stint in the 7th.
You know what? I was going to trade this. I was going to trade the ad for we can get this stream going.
Play Choose a Rainbow.
I'm done. Okay, let's try it out.
The 2019 Acura RDX with ELS Studio 3D sound. It's everything you
Well,
can
okay,
imagine.
this is what I'm saying the ads.
Stay in the moment, they say. But you're 4 steps ahead. Executing plans you've rehearsed countless times before. And moving on to the next thing. Because if you think you're done, you've only just begun. At Michelin, we never stop thinking about our next move. Or yours.
The new home of Supercross is NBC Sports. Don't miss a second of the heart-pounding action with every race from every stadium. Supercross is on NBC Sports.
This is Wednesday Night Hockey. To many, he's the best player on the best team in the league. But whenever the Colts play against this guy, success is never guaranteed. Wednesday Night Hockey on NBCSN.
Hi there. This is a commercial about insurance. But let's be honest, nobody likes dealing with insurance. See, insurance knows it's confusing. I really have no idea what I'm getting. I don't know either. I'm just a spokesperson. But that's why they're making it simple, so that even actors like us can understand it. I'm not an actor. I'd love to tell you more, but I only have 30 seconds. So here's a dramatic shot of their tagline so you'll remember it. When insurance is simple, it's surprisingly painless. Let's be honest. Every insurance company tells you they can save you money. Save up to 10% when you bundle with Esurance. Including me, Esurance spokesperson Dennis Quaid.
He's a pretty good spokesperson.
So when I say drivers who switch from Geico to Esurance saved an average of $412, you probably won't believe me. Hey, actor lady who's seen the stuff. But you can believe this Esurance employee, Nancy Abraham. Seriously, send her an email and ask her yourself. No emails. When insurance is affordable, it's surprisingly painless.
Let's get you up to speed on what has gone down in this Rolex 24-hour 15. This is Tommy Milner in the Corvette Racing C7R. Big contact on the driver's side.
Went to the medical center, was cleared. Just major disappointment, got caught out in new treacherous conditions. One lap, it was fine, he said, and then just suddenly lost the rear end entering turn one and went along for the ride.
It's hour 16, and when the rain really started to come down even heavier. Remember, more than 13 hours of nighttime driving, and then you add the rain, it just makes it so much difficult, so more difficult. Fernando Alonso leading the charge along with Alex Zanardi as the drivers were called back to their cars after a brief period of stoppage, and then when getting back to green, bang! In the fat Porsche goes into the back of the Indy Motors Lamborghini Huracan, and that's what caused a lengthy yellow. We remain under yellow as the weather has not been cooperating here in Daytona Beach, Florida. However, we showed you the radar just a few moments ago. There were some pockets, trying to be optimistic, there were some pockets of clearing, and perhaps hopefully things ease somewhat enough to go back to racing. That's the question, isn't it, Cal? How much does it have to ease, or how much, before we go back to racing? AJ Allmendinger gave us his insight from the cockpit of the Meyer Shank Racing Acura, just saying it's too. I'm not sure why we're going back racing. That was the previous time.
It's just so speculative in making those calls. You're just so unsure as we now see the Acura Team Penske machine pitting. I believe that Rossi's going to be jumping aboard here. There he is, ready to go.
And guys, you see Elio Castroneves getting out of the car. Kind of fell when he got out of the car. They do have to put a seat insert in for Alexander Rossi when he gets in. A little VP fuel as well, but no Michelin tires going on the car. Rossi getting buckled in. Did get a report that Ricky Taylor went to the care center. He is fine, took no fluids. He was released and is resting at his bus. Remember, he got sick a little bit earlier. There's a 67 Ford on pit road right now. Remember, they had all that damage earlier in the race. First pit stop of the race, and the driver
win
on right now for that team, but they are back in the game for that Team Ganassi car.
I have a question. When will it be?
We're
going to pretend like it's the
these drivers could theoretically stay until the end. They would not exceed any more than 4 hours in a 6-hour period. And Richard Westbrook, the British driver, is one of the best in the rain. So when he may be given the reins of this Ford GT, he's trying to take it to the checkered flag. If he's going to have the ability to show that under green flag conditions, that is another question.
Alex Zanardi out of the Rahal Letterman Lanigan M8, and you would imagine that's Alex's final stint in this Rolex 24, his return to racing in the US.
And even though they're down the charts, there were some technical issues, you'd have to say it was a major success. His lap times were superb, within a couple of tenths of the fastest laps in that car. Great job, Alex. We are proud of him in so many ways. Jesse Krohn now there behind the wheel. Unfinished driver, been with the BMW team for a few years now. Came up from the junior development program, has a lot of talent.
Maybe you haven't had a chance to be with us throughout the 20 hours thus far of this race, but one of the wonderful additions to the team and to our broadcast is the Peacock Pit Box at the end of pit road, right near pit out. Chris Devoda is there with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte, enjoying this Rolex 24 despite the weather, right, guys?
Yes, we certainly are. We're enjoying it. We have walls and a roof, so yeah, we're enjoying it. But this is that part in that race that Steve, Dale, all the drivers talked about when we were on the air last night. So with 4 hours to go, this is go time. I know it's changed with the weather conditions under caution. What are you guys looking forward to? And especially after and we've had a little bit of everything in the last 18, 19, 20 hours.
Yeah, I think just the question is when can they get this race restarted? Seemed like the weather picked up just for a minute there, and the tracks, hadn't changed at all. So, yeah, I think you got to ask the drivers really what kind of condition the racetrack's in, and maybe not the guys that are leading or the guys that are doing really well. Ask get some feedback from the rest of the field and see if those guys are willing to go green. But surely we need to end this race under green, not under caution.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. So, Calvin, you and I had this conversation a little bit ago about the clock. It never stops. The Rolex clock continues to tick. In 24 hours is the length of the race, regardless, yellow, red, or green. So you continue to let us know about the strategies. That's fascinating to me. Well, at what point does someone roll the dice on never restarting the green? At some point, is someone going to say our fuel window under yellow is X? You mentioned the drivers now can finish because they can run the final 4 hours. I mean, can one of these cars perhaps win one of the biggest sports car race in America purely by having a great strategy under yellow?
Well, I think you're spot on, Steve, in terms of under typical green flag conditions. Your back timing at the prototypes, for example, have been doing 21 lap stints. Well, under caution, you're not burning the fuel at the same rate. You're going a lot slower, so you're burning time off the clock. So a lap around here is taking a lot longer, obviously. So they were all factors in. But I would think for the key strategist, Steve, I would have to think if you were in their shoes, you'd be thinking about, okay, how far can I stretch this fuel run right now, staying under yellow, and then back to the end of the race from now? So is it 2 more stints under yellow? Is it 3 more? Is it 4 more? And then making the calls as to when to pick your car, thinking it may stay yellow and just be able to minimize those future stops.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to win some NASCAR races in the rain. Those races were shortened, and it's a funny story, but there are no stories that go with the trophy. No, there's no little asterisks that said, oh, well.
Okay, 3 hours left.
I think it's the same here, right? They're going to give a watch to the winners of each division, regardless of how this race finishes. So, as Calvin mentions, Krista, I expect the sharp minds on top of the pit box to kind of play dual strategies, right?
Still can hold on now.
To be prepared for both.
Well, Scott Pruitt, Grand Marshals race, won so many. He said, trophies go on a shelf, money gets spent, but that Rolex watch, we wear it all the time. It means so much to all of these drivers. And if you've been tuning in, you may be a new fan or not necessarily a sports car fan, you have to be a fan of what Alex Zanardi has been able to do, returning to racing here in America. And Dave, have you caught up with him?
I have, Krista, and it doesn't look like a Rolex watch will be in the offing for Alex this weekend, but we all agreed that you would leave this weekend hopefully with a smile on your face and having run your last stint now in the 24 car. Would that be the case?
100%, because of course we were aiming for a different sportive result, but what I'm bringing home, it's a fantastic experience. I want to thank all the fans. I feel so sorry for them, but of course they understand that it's not our fault if it's raining this much. And I hope we're gonna get some hot laps later. But right now it's really impossible. As far as myself, it's been fantastic. I feel very relieved because I was not only here for myself. Actually, I was here primarily for BMW. I wanted to represent them to the best of my ability, and that meant that any mistake I would have done could have cost them a lot. Unfortunately, we really lost the race for other reasons, but this is racing. There's nothing you can do. And I feel so sorry for all the engineers who worked so hard in getting this event ready so beautifully well. The reality is that we've gone through any type of scenario. We've tried to simulate all the potential problems, and we solved many problems we had at the beginning. And here we come, first pit stop.
had a new one, but you know it happens, and you can only try to come back maybe in another time and have that one covered as well. But we'll see.
Wait, I
It's
stopped
been a
it.
fantastic experience for me, and I want to thank all the people involved with the Rolex 24 for making me feel so welcome this weekend.
Dale Jr. is going to ask a question on the audience. I'll repeat it to you. Go ahead, Junior.
I was just wondering, in the video with Lee, he talked about it at Spa, how he had a difficulty keeping pace because of the prosthetics. But now with everything on the steering wheel, how does he feel? How does he feel about his pace this weekend?
We were looking at the video where you described how at Spa, with the prosthetic legs, you had a little trouble keeping pace. Now, having used this new system with the head controls only, how do you feel it went for that system and your pace?
In reality, I think I have a series of problems, one of which is also lack of feel with these new set of controls, because we've only been using them really preparing for this event. I mean, in the past 2 years, in the past 8 years, I haven't been doing much other than riding my cycle, which is not.
What was that?
Thing.
I was a bit late. Don't worry, the stream now is going to end in 3 hours.
To start with, that's getting there's more ground probably for me to gain in familiarizing with the car more. I'm sure if I got so much more knowledge now, where if I could start a race tomorrow, I'm sure I would be a much better asset for my team. But in the given time we had, I want to thank BMW for doing everything it was in their power, to give it the best possible opportunity.
We thank you for all the access and all the inspiration, Lee.
Oh, it's been fantastic, Dave. What a story. Hey, he's the only human on the planet who has raced Formula One. He's an IndyCar champion, the Rolex 24. He's a winner in his class marathon. He did the Hawaiian Ironman, and he's a two-time Paralympian. Gold in London, gold in Rio, and he told us recently that he will be going to Tokyo 2020 for his third Paralympic Games. Lights are out on the Audi pace car, and we've had a spinner already. It is the 47. Yet again, it's been a troublesome day. John Yount is behind the wheel, coming to the green. Green is flying through the triangle.
Yes, green flag. Finally, are we starting this race? That was good impatient.
An hour and 36 minutes of yellow.
Only 3 cars, really. How is that true? 3 cars are on the lead right now. Is that true? 3 cars are on the lead. How is that true? Okay, how is that true? I don't get that fix anything. Just 3 cars on the lead. How can I fix anything?
Cadillac chasing. Look at the GT field, just tiptoeing through the international horseshoe.
Oh, they keep racing. Cool, they keep racing. They don't keep racing.
This. Engineering number 31 leads. The Cadillac 1-2. They're undefeated here in the DPI era at Daytona.
What are you hearing on the radio from the drivers, Marty?
Well, before they all went green,
Okay,
they were all saying,
cars
why are we going green? Alexander Ross is saying it's worse now than it ever was when we were raining in the middle of the night when they red flags
All right,
were raised.
green, go on, hurry up. Why is it flashing on that car? Come on, I hope AJ will do.
Green and white machine is right behind him. He's dropped back a little bit as they hit the trial, but there it is. Down the backstretch.
AJ wasn't too far off on the pace of that Nissan prototype either. Oh, and look at this, Pippo Durrani. He takes the wide line, he's hit the grass, exiting the bus stop.
Oh, he hit the grass. That was close.
Gordon Taylor should have a run on him. But again, you can't get too hasty. You suddenly see that car. You want to go get it, you want to go get the lead. Good thing is that Gordon Taylor could read the track conditions based on what Pippo does right up in front of him. He would see that he was in trouble there. He backed off even more. Didn't run off the road. Great first conditions.
Well, that is.
Rolex watch on the line.
This is a great battle for the race lead.
In second position, that's Christian Fittipaldi in the Mustang Samsung number 5. It's not
This
on the
is a
lead
great
lap.
battle
It's
for
the
the
team
race
car to
lead.
the car.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, that was close.
Side by side,
That
he's
was
going to get
close.
the fight, though. He's got the
That
car
was
straight.
close.
That
That
should
was
enable him
this is
to
a
get the
great
power
battle.
down a little bit earlier than Jordan Taylor, who's still out steering it. But
Oh, someone else spun. Oh, no, the 4GT. No, no. Why? No. Why did the 4GT have the crash? No.
Going for the lead. Rear wing is 12th, that 4GT.
At least.
There was only 4/10 of a second between them.
At least his car is not that destroyed.
Debris strewn all on the outside of turn 1 in that runoff area. Pippo Durrani remains in the lead. Tell us more about the 31, Cal.
Well, after his first bobble on the restart, he said, okay, I'm being careful. Then he said, this is insane. I don't know what we're doing here. Now they've told him, hey, just stay in it, stay with it. We're staying group. They want him to hold position.
Look at Jordan Taylor. He has a run.
Oh, that's great.
Fittipaldi was trying to get one of his laps back, but Durrani has not got the grip he's looking for. Jordan Taylor has the run. He's going for the lead.
This is for the overall lead of the race, and it could be for the win of the Rolex 24. Who knows over the next 3 3/4 hours.
Durrani is not comfortable with that car underneath him, Lee. He's had a few moments. He's having to back off the pace a little bit.
Taylor, now he tiptoes through the bus stop. Will he run wide too? Keeps it on track.
Look at the gap. Durrani just can't get the power down and cannot carry the speed. The setup is not working.
Think about this. Jordan Taylor has not only been an amazing motorsport racer, as we see one of the hours off. That's the GT dealer. That's the Land Motorsport, the monoplast entry.
Putting the pressure on AJ Allmendinger for the lead. Has had a quick spin.
Getting back to Jordan Taylor, not only a brilliant racer, but a fan of the sport because of the family he grew up in, but a huge fan of Fernando Alonso. He's got Fernando Alonso now as a teammate.
Why are so many people coming off the track? It makes no sense.
For him, for Ringer van der Zande and Kamui coming out.
It's
We're a long way from the
really
finish,
good.
but
No
who knows
grip.
what this race is going in store for us.
Sometimes you'll see these.
I like this track in video
games. Wow, they
games.
missed the apex
I really
bypass,
do.
but that can be where the grip is. They call it the rain line, running the cushion, where the aggregate on the racetrack is a little bit coarser. Gives a little bit more fight for the
Oh,
teams.
who is that?
In trouble again.
How many cars are going to crash?
In
Oh.
P2,
He's trying to cut the track. Okay, where are you going? He's trying to cut the track. That's cheating.
Motorsport entry just Vettel just
Oh,
doing his
man.
best to get to find.
Come on. Oh, right. That's cheating. He's kind of tracking. That's cheating. Oh! Oh, no. Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me.
Down into turn 1.
Please don't
They
tell
try
me
and
he's
keep him
out.
there possibly and
Please don't
just,
tell me. Oh,
see if they get a caution or a red flag.
Oh no, is he going to get down? He's got enough momentum to get off there. And he's down on the apron and he's almost back at pit entry. Pit lane entry. This is what happened.
Oh, no. Okay, that.
That tells us the story.
The unknown beyond the horizon. That was once our frontier. But today, a new frontier has risen. And this is the vehicle crafted to conquer it. Introducing the first of its kind Lexus UX and UX Sport. Also available in hybrid all-wheel drive. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Stay in
I'm
the
doing a
moment,
hard
they
stream.
say,
I'm watching my
but you're 4 steps ahead. Executing plans you've rehearsed countless times before. And moving on to the next thing. Because if you think you're done, you've only just begun. At Michelin, we never stop thinking about our next move. Or yours.
Do your thing. Fulfill. Realize. Love. Well, like, be extraordinary. Turn off the highway and soar.
Spread your wings and experience the Mazda 6 with signature trim and turbo. Mazda. Feel alive.
This is a united sports car series in every way, shape or form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the track. Extraordinary stuff. It looks like a demonstration drive. Some of the best racing in the world. Fast, furious, exciting. These are golden days indeed for IMSA and for endurance racing in North America.
In the last hour, a New York federal judge sentencing Cohen to 3 years in prison.
We're following a number of fast-paced developing stories this morning.
The new home of Supercross is NBC Sports. Don't miss a second of the heart-pounding action with every race from every stadium. Supercross is on NBC Sports.
Get ready for a super day of football. First, a resurgent Manchester United line up against Leicester. Then all eyes will be on Manchester City as they battle Arsenal. All rise for a Premier League morning's doubleheader on NBCSN.
Racing continues here in the Rolex 24 under very challenging conditions. However, Jordan Taylor is relishing the opportunity to be out in front in the Konica Minolta Cadillac and has more than a 20-second lead over Alexander Rossi, as we show you the Cadillac track facts. Obviously kicked it off in 1962, where that Continental 500 was won by Dan Gurney, the late Dan Gurney, and it's been a year since we lost Dan. I want to say hi to Evie and the entire Gurney family on the West Coast. We're thinking about you guys and thinking about Dan and thinking about the history of sports car racing in America, celebrating the 50th anniversary of IMSA. Meanwhile, Jordan has taken off.
Yeah, the racetrack is getting a little bit better. Certainly we're seeing some spins continuously, but these Michelin wet weather cars can literally pump hundreds of gallons of water over the course of a lap around here. And they're starting to get a little bit dry line and developing. You can see Jordan Taylor's commitment is getting stronger and stronger. The lap times are coming down. He's now about 30 seconds off his dry lap best in this race car. But he looks like the car is drivable despite the massive amounts of a rooster tail right behind him. Visibility is certainly not going to be good for anyone in close proximity to a car.
So while we're in the break, Pippo Durrani came in 31 Wheel and Engineering Cadillac and exchanged with Felipe Nasser, one man who's not long out of his.
Can you at least get a backup car?
Elio Castro Neves, he's down on the Peacock pit box.
Yeah, he's only been out of the car for a few moments. He came right over here, and as he climbed up, you looked at us and you said, "Did they go green?" I said, "Yes." And then what was your thought at that moment and continuing?
Mom, I was going crazy. I mean, it's absolutely very, very difficult conditions right now. I mean, unfortunately, there is another car spin right now, so I believe 54. So it's very, very difficult, especially where they're trying to clean. The bus stop is very, very difficult. We're seeing this spinning. There we go.
That's the leader right there. It's race leader.
Oh man,
have you ever seen anything like this?
No, it's no. It's special here in Daytona. Obviously, in the oval, you don't actually race in a wet, so that's the replay.
Wow, that was close.
Wow.
You see, sometimes you just hit a puddle, and all of a sudden the car just spin out of control.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's what I call cold brown. That is a cold brown.
I like that. A car in the grass. I'm not sure that car's going to get out of the mud. You talk about the bus stop. So talk about there's a big track.
Can't just stay there the whole race.
But there are moments and spots that just become undrivable. Absolutely, exactly what you see this car. I think it's a Porsche that spun out. It's suddenly you just run over this running off water, and the car just don't respond. It's like an ice, literally, and you don't know what to control. So, some damage. That's.
What?
We talked about it all night. Every driver we talked to, every team manager we talked to said,
We just try to be on the lead lap when the rain comes. I think everyone knew this chaos of some sort was coming. Maybe no one expected quite this. You guys have been successful. Unfortunately, the team car had a mechanical issue. Your car seems to be strong. 3.5 hours to go.
It's been for 1 hour 53 minutes and 40 seconds.
Just stay on the track. Alexander Rossi is doing a phenomenal job just jumping in right away.
Oh, and caution!
Yeah,
That's 4.
you have to be. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation, because of this amazing track. Everybody loves to be here. But it's at one point we live in Florida here, so it's we have to have some drainage because it's especially in the key areas. And this is not new. This has been before. So, but in the end of the day, we want to make sure that we complete the 24 hours and hopefully we'll be done here.
Well, no matter the conditions, there's always a smile on Elio's face, no matter what. Marty, we're going to throw it to you real quick. Do you have something?
Well, we just caught up with Joey Hand, who was a victim of the rain. So what are the conditions like? Is it raceable at all, Joey?
It's bad. I'm very surprised they've been green, especially with no notice. Nobody got tire temps. Nobody got brake temps. So we were totally caught off guard. It's the most water I've seen on the track since I've been out there. And I've been out there since 6:30 this morning. So not really sure why we did that, but IMSA normally makes the right call, so we'll stick with it. But that's not even the worst part. I can handle myself out there, but not everybody can. So just got totally smoked from behind, and it was by a Porsche again. So we get hit by Porsche a lot. And I gotta tell you, man, I'm over it. Really over it. So we'll see what happens here. They definitely took us out of the race. We're in bad shape there. We got hit so hard. I mean, it hit me hard, really hard. Knocked the right rear off. Then I hit another car and another car and another car. It's too bad because we worked our way up in there. Just gonna hang out and try and make it through there, and to get taken out by somebody else who's just being stupid sucks.
There you go. Very frustrated with the pushes. That's Joey Hand's story. 66 has gone to the garage. Krista.
No, I did a 66. I go to the garage. No.
Your condition. I know you had to wait to get in the car for an extra maybe 3 hours. You were planning. How are you feeling during all of that? Having to wait.
It was obviously things hinders. They want to call our strategy. So we're basically trying to understand, the limit driving situation. Ricky was a long time, so we're trying to see if we want to keep him or not, or save to the end. Myself the same. So all of a sudden, all right, it's taking too long. We don't have the control of the yellow flag. So we're just trying to change and at least be able to spend some time.
Hey, Elio, it's Calvin. A couple of questions for you, mate. We heard Joey Hand there relate to the fact that he got caught by surprise, didn't get the brake temperature, tire temperature up. How much do you work that brake to try and generate heat through the upright into that tire? And also, if you're taking it easy, if you're not really loading the tire, does that then become a factor that you're not getting the heat into the tire and can't go quicker when you need to?
Absolutely. There are two things happening. In fact, when I was running, I wasn't even thinking about in saving fuel. I was just making sure the oil temperature is up because it's really quite cold right now. Second, I was making sure that my brakes were actually ready. With that, you also rise the temperature of the tires as well. So it's a combination of things. And you don't want to have a surprise. If they go green, you don't want to lock the wheels. But right now, it's not even a problem of locking wheels. It's actually the aquaplaning. Those are the situations that you can't see. It's not like, okay, I see the puddle, I can go around. It's just absolutely blind. And it's a shame. I mean, we're all here professional, but sometimes, like Joey was talking about, it's somebody just hit the puddle and it take you out. So it's a tough situation. Right now, we're just on the survive mode. Everybody's in the survive mode, and hopefully the weather improves a little bit.
Yeah, you guys were nodding. I didn't know if we had time. You guys wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering has the setup in the cars changed over the last probably 10 years since you've been driving, that it's made it more difficult in these type of conditions?
Well, we normally try to prepare. This is by the way, the second time with Actor St. Penske running at the Daytona 24. You try to make sure that the car is able to adapt to our cars are very sensitive to the weather. Any temperature, the car changes conditions. So we try to make sure the car in those scenarios it's able to be at night, a day, an afternoon. pretty stable. However, when you have a rain, a storm like this, you got to think about it. What should we do? So right now, we actually stopped and put a little more downforce in the car. However, Ricky said there was not much of a difference, and I didn't feel either. So with this condition, I don't think you can feel much.
Marty, they're in.
I think Elio stayed on the pit box for a while because Tim Cindric told Alexander Rossi, get comfortable in that car. You're going to be in there a while. Meaning he's probably going to the end. It's BP fuel only. You saw no tires there for Alexander Rossi. So, Elio, there you go. Your car back out on the racetrack.
That's right. I mean, the good news is at least I only ran at a yellow pace. So it's kind of hard for me to go out there and try to do something. It's going to take me a few laps to get used to. At least Alex already ran. There was a green flag. He was able to adapt to those conditions. Still very difficult, but we want to keep it and make sure that he is comfortable.
So how do you understand? You've obviously ran an Indy car in the rain. What's an open cockpit versus a prototype? Is it a major difference?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Right now you can't see. I mean, the windshield it forms a way that it's like literally it's blind, especially behind people. Now in IndyCar, at least
physicians specializing in preventative. The SPCA certainly is. Post this on Facebook.
GNC.
Okay, great. But does it work for you?
Oh yeah, my workouts are incredible now. I'm feeling stronger, more energetic, with a lot more drive.
So, say I knew someone who should try eugenics. How does he do that?
It's easy. Just send a text to get a complimentary bottle.
Frank's right. Now you can claim a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics by texting Turbo to 42424. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And trust me, you'll like the difference too.
Samples are not available in stores, so text TURBO to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of Nugenics.
This is uncharted territory. A Peloton bootcamp where elite instructors and live metrics put every muscle to work. Where it's you versus everyone else. With live classes every single day. It's your total body workout where it's never gone before. Home. Introducing the Peloton Tread.
You're the can-do guy. The I got this guy. But you're also the guy concerned about prostate health. And you're not alone. For guys over 50, the ingredients in Urinazine help support prostate health. You're in control with Urinazine.
This is not a bet. It's a revolution in sleep. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed from $9.99 intelligently senses your movement and automatically adjusts. So you wake up ready to train for that marathon. Save up to $500 on select Sleep Number 360 Smart Beds. Ends Wednesday.
Ow, it hurts.
Are you going with me
And
yesterday?
you not use the smartest tools to manage your business. You work too hard to work this hard. Collecting receipts? Is it the 80s? Does anybody have a mixtape I can borrow? You should be chasing pets, not chasing payments. QuickBooks gives you a sweet set of business tools that'll do all the hard work for you. You may groom corgis, but you don't have to work like a dog.
You earned it. We're here to make sure you get it.
Time to get yours.
QuickBooks, backing you.
Yeah, tell her my card's like.
The Rolex clock continues to tick away here in Daytona Beach for the 57th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona that has now seen 13 caution periods. That's the one we are currently under, as conditions have just been so troublesome here. And there have been some teams and drivers who have experienced extreme adversity here. However, we continue. We push on, and let's take you through the field. Kelly, kick us off.
Yeah, we'll start at the front of the grid here, and that's Jordan Taylor from the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac. And this car really seems to have been the class of the field. They've definitely shown the most speed in wet conditions. First with Fernando Alonso, then here with Jordan Taylor, who actually made a pass under green to regain the lead. When he did so, the team called him a hot dog and then told him to kind of settle in and be careful, reminding him that they still had a few hours yet to go, Marty.
One of the confidence Steve Penske has in Alexander Rossi, the former Indy 500 winner. When they tested here back in December at the Roar, he actually wrecked the car. Actually, early January, he wrecked the car when it rained, but they put him right back in for this final stint, likely going the entire final 4 hours of this race. And remember that 7 car, just pitted a moment ago. The car in front of them, Kelly, did not pit. So Jordan Taylor hasn't pitted in a while, but Alexander Rossi, fresh fuel inside that car.
Well, Felipe Nasr in that 31 Whelen Engineering machine did come to pit road to get some more fuel. Now, Felipe Nasr had never raced this track in the rain. However, we did have some wet conditions earlier this week, and while it was nothing like they're facing right now, he did say it was very helpful just to get somewhat of a feel of how this track drives in the wet and what these Michelin tires will do. But we saw it earlier with his teammate Pippo Durrani. They have had their hands full in this 31 car in the wet conditions. As we move on to the GT Le Mans class, it has been the 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari. This is a team that has really felt like they're at a disadvantage on the balance of performance, but they've just been executing throughout the 20-plus hours of this race to give themselves the lead. James Collado now behind the wheel of the car, and he said, hey, I'm looking forward to the rain. I think they'll spice things up. I'm not sure if this is more rain, though, Marty, than he anticipated.
All right, Echo. Kelly, if you look at the left side of your screen, that GTD category, I can say it, AJ Allman, our man in the lead right now. They have not been in a long time. In fact, AJ, under this caution, and they just came back on the radio. Mike Shank, the man who owns this team, said, AJ, we have a plan. It's not going to make a lot of sense to you, but you've got to trust us. We have a plan. We're sticking to it. And I'm not sure that would enlist a lot of confidence in the driver. You're not going to understand the plan, Calvin, but you're going to follow it.
Yeah, and he'll certainly trust any words of wisdom that Mike Shank gives to him. They really enjoy working together. Mike Shank has always said if he's got seniors race.
I went to them. I was trying to take them
And
off.
look, we've got the perfect scenario at the moment. The two NBC Sports commentators who are drivers in this race, the cars are first and second in class. Down to Bell's Lexus is in second. See how this one shakes out.
Here's a question. Was it necessary to create a luxury car more teched out than Silicon Valley? With a cockpit fit for a spaceship. Hang on. Radar that senses things the human eye can't. Busted. And the ability to make 1,000 decisions before you even make one. Was all this really necessary? What do you think?
It's a good thing we didn't eat these under the ceiling fan.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day. Not just an airline purchase. Holy, that's a lot of miles! What's in your wallet?
The Waste Management Phoenix Open. Thursday at 9:15 a.m. Eastern on PGA Tour Live, continuing at 2 p.m. on Golf and Saturday on NBC.
Have you heard that Spectrum now offers mobile service? It's true. Tired of dropped calls and bad connections? Spectrum Mobile is built on America's largest and most reliable LTE network. Talk and text is always free. Just pay for the data you use. Only $14 per gig. Need more? There's an unlimited plan too. And you can save up to 40% by switching. The best network, the best devices, the best value. Spectrum Mobile. Go to spectrummobile.com today.
When I say drivers who switch from Geico to insurance saved an average of $412, you probably won't believe me, but you can believe this. Real Esurance employee Nancy Abraham. Look her up online. Esurance. It's surprisingly painless.
With Zillow, you can tour homes anytime, anywhere. See the house before you see the house. And Zillow sends alerts right to your phone. That's the sweet sound of a new rental.
First, I have my family at home. I can't leave that one out. You've been asking me this question for a long time, and I've been kept you in the dark. And today, after 50 years of racing, I'd like to answer that question. The 2018 Rolex 24 Hours Daytona will be my last race. being involved in IMSA for as many years as I have, I've seen that roller coaster of up and down. In fact, I retired earlier this year, right after the Rolex 24 hours, where I competed in my last race with Lexus. And when I look back and I remember all those great races, what I'm seeing now is competition is wheel to wheel, fender to fender, beating and banging right to the checkered flag. The fans are second to none. The future couldn't look brighter as we approach the 50 years and beyond.
For people to celebrate 50 years of anything, 50 years of marriage, 50 years of a career is an incredible accomplishment. But for Scott Pruitt to have raced for 50 years is sensational. And there he is. He shares the top spot with Hurley Hayward. 5 wins overall at the Rolex 24. He's the most successful IMSA racer ever with 6
Warriors right at the Rolex 24. I don't know.
But an incredible performance, and add to that Pruitt's 10 class wins here, and he has thoroughly enjoyed the honour of being the Rolex 24 Grand Marshal this weekend. He did say, though, Cal, to me the other day, it feels really weird. It's the first time in some 16 years straight that he's never had to use his driving gear here. And just kind of, he doesn't know what to do. So he's busy with the family winery and various businesses. But it just didn't feel quite right coming to Daytona and not knowing you're going to race.
No, it's very different. And one car that's been out of trouble here is the number 29 car, Dries Van Tour. Really quick young pilot. He's won at Le Mans class. He had to spin a little bit earlier on the racetrack and get back to pit lane. All kinds of drama here, Dave.
Yes, indeed, Cal. He's 20 years old and full of fire from Belgium, and I know you were so frustrated, Dries. What happened in the incident on track?
We decided to box, and as soon as I went on the left lane and started to even think about braking, I aquaplaned completely, and I couldn't do anything. I was a passenger from that moment, and luckily I could get out of the grass and get to the pits. I was already in the pits, but then I got in the grass, so luckily I could get back and go to the box. We're still in it, so hopefully everything is fine with the car. And it was a really scary moment, let's say.
Chris has been in and out of the car. Daniel is in the car now. What did you tell Daniel about the conditions, what to watch for?
Yeah, that it's extremely tricky. You know, turn 1, turn 6, and the bus stop is extremely tricky because there's a lot of aquaplaning. Coming into the pit lane is as well really slippery, so it's really tricky out there. But it's better than driving behind the safety car the whole race. So at least we have some. I wouldn't really call it fun, but we can try to stay out of trouble and at least fight for the victory instead of just driving behind the safety car. But let's hope. It's still 3 hours to go, so let's see. Everything can happen.
Dries, thank you so much. It's not over for him. 8 cars, I think I counted, lead in GTD, still on the lead lap. And behind the wheel of the 29 now, Daniel Morad. Remember, he told us the story earlier how he used to hate the rain because he got his butt kicked in a shifter kart race by Robert Wickens. And then he went out the next day in freezing temperatures and taught himself to love the rain. Morad, now at the wheel of the 29.
We'll see how much he loves it now.
As wants to brand himself as Moradness. This is appropriate. This car will take off here a little bit. Once it's underneath the apron, the leader isn't allowed to go. The car slowing there.
It's the PR1 Mathiasen car. Meanwhile, in LMP2, it's been a really solid going for Elton Julian's Dragon Speed entry. The 81 leads the 18, so 2 team cars in this 4-car LMP2 field. Here's a promising sight for Ford Chip Ganassi's 66, the Motorcraft historic livery car. You heard a very, very angry Joey Hand before after getting taken out by Fred Makowicki. There's been strained relationships between the Ford GT drivers and the Porsche factory drivers, so this is just going to ratchet things up.
It really will, as we get ready for the green here. Get back to that GT Le Mans story.
Jordan Taylor leads the field. He will have the best view, a clear view.
I didn't see him.
To that green flag through the triangle. So since 6 o'clock this morning, which is
Chase, put some socks on.
Get on my street. No one wants to see you.
Get some socks on.
Just get up.
Let's go again. Let's build that number.
You're going to get it.
Safe manner.
Well, Rossi brought some speed there, and closed in on Jordan Taylor as all of these drivers just start to tiptoe their way around, trying to feel out the racetrack once again. The problem is when you're not running at speed, you're not clearing the water at the same rate. So it's probably a little bit more treacherous than when they went to caution just a few laps ago. So you've got to adapt, try not to make that critical error at this late stage of the race.
Jordan Taylor, Alexander Rossi. It's Cadillac, it's Acura, and a second Cadillac in Felipe Nasr. We've got a spinner exiting the International Horseshoe. It's one of the LMP2 cars. Is it the 18? It is.
Behind the wheel, all the 50 cars off as well.
Why is there so many cracks? I can't even see the track.
In DPI.
This is the toughest time. You think in the rain, but it's just all about the grooves of the rain tire. And now it's also about getting the tire temperature up. So when you've been cruising around under yellow, you're not able to keep that energy in the tire.
Hey, good news. I got storage
Just like
again.
going out on cold, slick tires at night. It's similar to that right now. You just got to gradually pick up the pace as the 14.
Oh, what is? Oh, okay. Because this race is insane.
So regroups, gets it pointed in the right direction. And
This race was so insane. This race was insane. I can't even tell. I can't tell that there are so many cars crashed. And what's your opinion on?
This is what happened to Jack. Look for that Dayglow and black Lexus. Well, that was that taking evasive action there. That wasn't the incident with the 18 spinner. It was the 18 spinner. This is will this show us.
It's the 50 going off.
This is Rene Binder, the Austrian driver. And that was an easy and innocent off, no drama there. As we're getting closer and closer to the 3 hours to go mark. Jordan Taylor.
3 hours ago. 3 hours ago.
Again, the question
I'm
is,
sure your computer I will.
Team Penske machine,
I don't have to end the stream early.
They're probably willing
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to end this and stream.
car looks awfully strong. Maybe you don't have the pace to get that car to the lead anyway. Don't take any risks. We see our mate AJ on the thing and jumping out, Marty.
Hey guys, remember that part of the strategy that AJ might not understand? Well, this is part of a driver change right here under green. They're saying no rush on this driver change. AJ is hopping out, so they have done a fantastic job. Kept it in the lead that entire time by making a driver change here on the Acura.
Trent Hinman behind the wheels. Trent's done a stellar job so far. Meanwhile, troubles for the JDC Miller Cadillac. Dylan DiFrancesco behind the wheel. This car runs 5th overall and 5th in class.
We can just keep a green lead. This track will get a little bit better for these drivers. Their car will get better. The tires will get some temp. You'll start to clear a bit of a dry line. It's not going to ever be dry here today, I don't think, but certainly most of the water will be moved aside. The problem is making a pass. You're down on the deeper water typically when you move it to the inside of someone. This is where it's really wet. This is where
Sorry guys, I want to end the stream. Sorry. Wait, I gotta end one window.
Black Swan Porsche. The green and chrome and black
And
in the GT Daytona class.
German Porsche factory driver Dirk Werner behind the wheel.
All right.
Okay, sorry guys, I have to end the stream.
By Felipe Nasr on the low line.